doing a drum roll today. But we are. We're doing a drum roll because I'm waiting. Please connect. Please clap. please clap. Okay. All right. Internet has been spicy the last couple of days, really last week. So well, even no longer, a bit more than a week now. 8 days, 9 days. It's been almost a week and a half. Internet's been funky. Okay, I think I have solved the issue. Fingers crossed, knock on wood. I can't promise we won't have any internet issues, but I'm trying to fix them. I got my nails done. I feel like this is like my new thing. Like, I always knew in my head I'd like this look because I'm not really into, like, the super big, like, I like looking at super big, like, artistic nails, but I feel like this is, like, much more me because I work with my hands a lot, like, in the yard and doing DIY stuff, so, like, having simple nails is good. But hi, everyone. Happy Friday. How are you? It's very hot outside, so I don't currently have the Doggo camera on. Just trying to minimize the amount of technology overheating in the room, and that camera seemingly is very sensitive to heat, more so than that camera is, and I don't have enough fans to be like blowing fans on all of my electronics, so no Doggo cam or Doggo fan today, but she will be making a visit at some point later on. And oh, there we are. Okay, I don't know why it took so long for my restream thingy to connect, but it looks like we're live on YouTube, so I'm not worried about it. But how's everyone doing? Thank you for complimenting the nails. The super big nails freak me out. You can't really do anything with your hands. That's honestly like the big thing for me. Like one time I have tried having like pointy nails, which I love the aesthetic of, but I can't type with them. They drive me nuts. I can't do it. I can have like round or almonds at the most, and then beyond a certain point, I just, like, it's too hard to type because my keyboard keys are very flat. And so I just feel like they're not compatible with long nails. I don't know how, like, the long nail girlies do it. Or the thembies. I don't know how they do it. More power to them. It's a good look, but I can't. So we're keeping them like this. I think I want to grow them out a little bit more and have them be more almondy shape, but I like the black French tip with the clear base is, I think the new way to go. So my cats love being scratched by acrylic nails, which is a great excuse to get them. I had a picture in my head of like making a cat toy / like for human kink purposes sensation play toy where you get those like press on acrylic nails and then you put it on, like, you could get one of those like back scratcher things that looks like a hand, and then you could put like the nails on the hand, and then you could have like an acrylic nail like scratching device. Is that excessive? Is that extra? I honestly don't know. They are definitely impractical. They're like a special occasion look. Like, I've gotten them, I think I got them once for like a big event. Maybe it was Kink Fest. I think I got them done last around Kink Fest. I've done them mostly myself recently. I just don't like it as much when I do it myself. Like, I could never do this. This is too much. This took too long. I could not do this at home. I don't have, like, especially doing it on my left hand because I'm left-handed. Couldn't be me. But thank you all so much for being here. We love the early crew. We do these streams every Friday at 6, and if you want to hang out beforehand, we always have a pretty good little group of people, like Lexi and Twixie and Jamma and Phil's Violet and Options, Fun and Wealth, and everyone that comes and hangs out. We love everyone visiting, and hello to all of you. Hello, Jay, and hello, Project Kayla, and let's see who else was here early. And ABSP, been a minute. Glad you're here. Glad you could make it. Bolter Rules from Australia. Just finished my 5K run. Hope everyone else is having a great day. Well, congrats on your 5K run. I hope that went well. I am so bad at cardio and running. I can do like the rowing machine and like dancing stuff. But if it's not dance and it's not rowing, I can't do it. As far as cardiovascular exercise is concerned. I loved bike riding as a child. I'm not so much into it now as an adult, though. And hello, Dale, and Mialina, and Chunk, and a Raging Otaku, and Chris, and Keisero Kaiba, and Charlotte, and Nathan, and Wonder Woman, and Rom, and Tiff Tiff, and DJ Bass Hawk, and Critical Kitty, and Darian, and Miss A, and A Petro, and I think I saw Keo, Meow, and Critical Kitty. Got a little cats in the audience today. I love it. And Sean, and Billy Bob, and Michael. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this Friday. So, that being said, just so you all know, if you're new here, because we've got some people, I imagine, that have come over from Instagram. And if you came to this live stream from Instagram, I would love to know, because I think what I'm going to try to do on Instagram. So, actually, let me show you all this. I set this up today so I could show you all. So, I used to be, my main social media used to be Twitter. And now I'm kind of moving over to be more on Instagram. And I'll just show you guys, because it's not really like a good way to like, because it's an app. I don't really have a good way to like link to my account on the app. But I have an Instagram account. And it's currently public, just so I literally could show this to you guys. And I used to do, this is like my OG, this is what I did. Like, I can't scroll back that far. But I've been on Instagram is like my first ever social media platform. And I got off of Instagram because the censorship just went crazy. I had people that I knew for years on Instagram that lost their accounts. And I definitely, like, I treat Instagram like my memory box, because Instagram I made like right after I joined the kink community. So like my whole kink journey is on there. The first time I ever went to like a kink party and got ready, like that photo's on there. And so I really don't want to lose it. I do have a backup that I requested from Instagram. However, my old photos are like 5 phones ago, and like I'm on a different, like I use a different brand of phone and everything else. So I don't have a lot of my old posts. So I've always been very conservative about posting on there for the last couple of years. And I think what I'm going to do now is, at least like until I get a warning, I'm going to be doing some more, like probably like fairly heavily censored, like text informational posts about hot topics. I'm just going to like test it out, see how it goes. Because Twitter, I'm not going to be active on Twitter, but if the news from Elon from today is anything to go by, may not be long for this world, considering the fact that Elon is saying they're going to get rid of the block feature. And luckily, I don't really have an account where I have had to block very many people, but it's just one more nail in the coffin, and there's a lot of nails in that coffin already. So Twitter used to be my main social media outside of YouTube, and now I'm kind of going back over into Instagram. I don't have any plans to do any other social media like TikTok or whatever at this point, or Snapchat. But if you want to follow me over there, I'm evie.lupine. That is my name over there, and you can check me out. I'm going to be doing stuff like this, and I've had fun making these, and they're like a good kind of concrete, shareable way of doing things. So I'm going to try like maybe like a week or two of doing some like daily posts on there, and just kind of see how that goes, and hopefully I won't anger the Instagram god. So if you want to follow me there, it's evie.lupine, and you can check things out. But there we go. That's that on that. Yeah, so if you're here for the stream, this is 18 plus only. Like everything else I do, 18 plus only. So if you're not at least 18, please don't be here. It's for everyone's safety, my safety, your safety. Just mixing minors and adults and kink all together in the same space, generally not a good idea. This is an interactive Q&A, so you guys come in, you ask questions, we talk about topics that are on my mind or your mind, and it can be about anything you want. It could be kink, BDSM, power exchange, polyamory, dating advice, finding community, asexuality, LGBT issues, pop culture stuff, movies, whatever it is you guys want to know about, we can talk about it here. I do answer questions in the order they come in, so I always recommend coming in early, asking a question early if you have one, because there's simply no way I can get to every question. If you want to have your question highlighted, the best way to do that is either with a super chat here on YouTube, or you can go to the link in the description box that will take you to Streamlabs. It'll highlight your question over here, and I will get to it ASAP, and that's really the best way to get my attention, because otherwise I will get very complete answers until I feel like I'm done, not necessarily when you all are done. So that is what you need to know about that, and just read the rules. We keep it very loose and lighthearted here. No spamming the chat. No excessive self-promo. No being invasive or creepy. You know, just like listen to the mods. And then in general, I don't answer questions that involve giving mental or physical health advice because I am not qualified to do that. And even if I was, doing so remotely online over text is just like not generally a good idea. If you have an issue like that, I'm basically going to redirect you to the National Coalition for Sexual Freedom's website, which is all about finding, you know, professional resources that are more kink friendly and more informed. So with that being said, that is where we're at. That's the stream, and we'll get into answering some questions. Oh, thank you, Jay. You got a super chat from Jay for $9.99. Love it. That's like the perfect infomercial amount of a donation. Like, I was thinking about that earlier this week, like how there always used to be commercials on air that would be like, and now for the low price of $9.99, or $19.99, you know, retail price $60, but order now, and then we'll give you 2 chamois for free, and like. It'd always be like a toll number, and then like shipping and handling would be like $5.95. It was like such an era. A bygone era, but definitely an era. Ghost comments. I like the fact that CGL is included in the title. DDLG just goes to show the male domination and BDSM is the norm, and in this case, I am not normative. Yes, definitely. I feel like DDLG is the more known term, so I tend to include it just to like draw in a wider net of folk that are more likely to want the information I'm talking about, but CGL is like the more general term for sure. And honestly, I would say though, as a counterpoint, being a daddy does not necessarily mean that you're a cis man. I feel like my favorite use of the word daddy in general is like when somebody's a daddy, but they're not like a cis het man. Like I feel like you can be a lesbian and be a daddy. You can be non-binary and be a daddy. You can be like a high femme woman and be a daddy. Like all of that, amazing, wonderful. Everyone should feel free to use the word daddy, honestly. Let's free the daddy, TBH. That's my opinion on that. Hell week from work is over. Well, I am glad that's over for you. TGIF indeed. Which is like, that's how I started doing these streams is like long time ago when I started streaming, I still had a vanilla job. And so like I would do these streams after work on Fridays as kind of like a hurrah, yay, it's the weekend before actually getting into doing weekend activities because at the time of the community I was in, most of the events were on Saturdays and Sundays. And so like Friday night was like a good night to like just hang out and do some YouTube stuff. IRL, it's a bit different as it's harder for me to make connections since very few people around me share my kinks. Yeah. I saw the typo, but it's fine. Yes. That's like one of the difficulties of the real life community, like comparing it to the online communities. Online, you can find a niche for anything you want, right? Be it DDLG or pet play or pony play or being a robot girl or dollification or 1950s stuff, like whatever, latex, like whatever your kink is, you can find it online, but it is a lot harder to do that in real life simply because like if you have a scene of like, let's say in a big city, like 200 people, that's not that big compared to the hundreds of thousands of people that have FetLife accounts. Actually, how many people have FetLife accounts? Is it over 1 million? What does it say on the homepage? I think it says, oh, my dumbass. They have 10 million members on FetLife. Wow. Okay, that's like way, I don't know why in my brain I was like, there's probably like 1 million. I mean, to be fair, there's probably, I don't know what their daily active user base is, but it's definitely under 10 million. It's probably more like, I don't know, 500,000. Would that be like an overestimate of like active users every day? Like people that just like log in and like check stuff. I feel like it's very Facebooky and that like a lot of people like log in, clear their inbox, check for events, then like log back out. Like they don't really hang out for very long. Like people don't socialize on FetLife as much these days, but there definitely are lots of people on FetLife still, and many communities for all different kinds of niche kinks. I just turned 18 or 19, so I'm guessing I'm old enough now to actually experience more things about the community. Yes, I would definitely say that. And a lot of people initially like realize they're kinky a lot younger than that. This is kind of the problem with, well, it's not that it's a problem, but like personally, like in yourself, it's a problem that you can know from a younger age, let's say like 16, that you have interests in doing kinky stuff and trying it. But it's very difficult to like find resources to do that or places to do it safely because you're like if you're not old enough to like drive a car on your own, is it like a good idea for you to be doing the stuff that is involved in kink? I would say probably not if your brain isn't like has its like a bare minimum having your frontal lobe like mostly fully baked. I feel like is probably a good idea before getting into kink stuff because unfortunately I do know people that both have had positive and negative experiences starting doing kink younger. I just feel like in terms of mixing spaces, like there's a good reason why, at least in the US, we don't have like 16-year-olds in the same kink spaces as like 45-year-olds. Like that would probably, it just sounds like a bad time. Can you imagine if you were a high schooler and you went to a kink event and then like your history teacher was there? Like that would be mortifying on all ends. Like people would get fired. People would lose their jobs. Like it's just easier to have more separation there, I feel like. Better for everyone, ultimately. But you know, I feel like those kind of intervening years of like late adolescence into early adulthood is a really good time for reading about things. Like even just going to your local library and getting books that are more mainstream but accessible books that are about sexuality, things like, you know, Come As You Are or Sexual Intelligence or yeah, Sexual Intelligence, I think is the name of it. I don't remember the author's like Mark Fisher or something. Hot and Unbothered. Lots of books out there that'll give you really, really, really solid skills to start out with for understanding yourself and communication tools that'll put you miles ahead of people, you know, that are many years older than you just because you have that background information and knowledge for like dealing with like more adult things that we just like don't teach people but should, right? Like I think things like communication and boundary setting, which are really the cornerstone of a lot of those books, like self-knowledge and boundary setting, those things are just like not talked about. And so you get into adulthood not really having those skills, and I would say having them will generally put you in a better location than not having them. Yes, and we love people of all experience levels and all ages because you can be brand new and be 55, you can be brand new and be 18. That's like one of the great equalizers about kink is your age and your relative level of experience can end up being two very different things. I definitely meet people in the scene all the time that are brand new and 20 and brand new and in their 50s. All different people get started at different points in their lives because of divorce or raising kids or getting out of the house. Like we all have our own journey, and it's you know, I think older people can tend to feel more regret around like I wish I had started younger because like I maybe have more chronic pain issues or I have less mobility or something, and that can certainly affect your ability to do certain things in kink to the level maybe that you want to be able to do them, but it doesn't make it impossible by any means. There are many, many ways to do kink, even if you have, you know, maybe age-related health concerns, let's say, kind of broadly. I discovered kink itself in 2002 when I found DeviantArt. I feel like DeviantArt was like such a pathway for so many people. Like sort of like DeviantArt for affinity and like I don't know what else probably was a gateway thing for people online. I don't know, like IMVU or like Second Life I feel like is another big one for people. Like online stuff besides just like, you know, fan fictions and erotica and things like that, because that's also like a big endpoint for people. I discovered kink on MySpace in 2004. I was never on MySpace, so I have like no even way to visualize what that means. Like, what is it? What? Okay, I have to know. how was BDSM on MySpace discussed? Was it like photos? Was it people like, I don't even know how you communicated on MySpace. Like, I don't even know. Like, was it, I think there was probably, was there a wall or something? Or was it like a Facebook convention? Like, who had that? I genuinely do not know. I don't know, but I would love to know more. Mm. Mm-hmm. Always good to find your group of people. That is for sure. Oh, thank you. My interviews have always been engaging. I think Evie should make a podcast about different types of kinks. Okay, so thank you for both of those things. A very long time ago now, years ago, pre pandemic, like 2017, 18, maybe 17, I had a podcast that I did for a year and a half, maybe, with like a group of friends. And it was great. Editing it was the worst thing job wise I've had to do as a content creator. The editing of having to edit a podcast, you'd think it'd be easier than editing a YouTube video, but because it's audio only and like five people talking, you hear everyone like talking over each other and the ums and the mouth noises, and it's so like, and people like, there's one person who would always fucking be playing like League of Legends while recording, and like uh, it was just, I couldn't do it. I could not do that as like a full long-term thing. If I had a podcast, I'd have to have somebody else edit it. I couldn't do it either, time-wise, and just like, it's like my least favorite chore. You know how around the house you have like a least favorite chore you always put off doing, like whether it be laundry or washing the sheets or, folding stuff. I don't know why I'm picking all laundry related stuff for this, because I actually really like laundry. Like, or cleaning your bathtub or scrubbing the toilet or unloading the dishwasher, whatever it is. For me, that chore I really don't like is having to edit a podcast. So I really like doing interviews. Like, I love talking to people, and like I've been so fortunate to have like access to people that I did not ever think I was like gonna be able to talk to, that like are influential to me and important to me. But at some point, never say never. I definitely would consider. I think the problem with podcasting is the podcast space is very saturated as a market. Like, there's so many really good kink or polyamory or like adjacent podcasts, and there seems to be kind of a limit on like how much you can do. Like, Sunny Megatron has an amazing podcast, and there's Off the Cuffs, and there's like Life on the Swing Set, and there's the Loving BDSM podcast. Like, there's so many people that are really, really good at podcasting that have done a lot of really good episodes. Like, my routine years ago, when I still like traveled back and forth, I'd have a weekend routine where I would do all my work during the week, and then I would spend the weekend at one of my partner's houses, and I would drive there. It was like an hour drive. I'd go on Friday evenings, and I'd listen to a podcast on the way there, and then on the way home on Sunday night, I'd listen to another podcast. And that was like, it would be the perfect length of time to listen to a podcast, because the drive was like basically the same length as like an hour long weekly podcast episode. That was a great way to get a lot of information, especially like way earlier on in my journey. And I would love to do that again. Oh, and like What's a Safe Word? They have a great podcast too. Like, there's so many good ones, and I just like, I don't know. I feel like it would be hard. But I've had that as like before Patreon removed like goals, like patron goals, because now they just have gotten rid of that for some reason. I did have a goal for a long time that I never quite reached. I got very close to it, of doing like general pop culture podcast, like sort of a combination of like, okay, to be very clear about this, I'm not talking about like personal drama in the kink scene. I mean like pop culture. I mean like, I want a place where I can talk about Steven Crowder cheating on his wife multiple times. I want a podcast where I can talk about the Barbie movie. I want a podcast where I can talk about like whatever is on my brain, be it like kink stuff, niche internet drama, but not like, mostly niche internet drama, and like, other happenings, right? Like I don't know, whatever stuff. I don't want to like how I like I can see, I think there was like somebody was confused at one point, like thought I was going to start like a drama podcast about the BDSM community, but I gotta be honest, y'all aren't that interesting. Like, I would have like 2 weeks of content and I would be like out of things to talk about. Like, there's a lot of stuff, but there's not anything that's like fun to talk about that even I would be aware of, like enough to talk about it. Like, it's a lot of like, so and so said this, and it's like, it's always like really negative, heavy stuff, like not like a lighthearted, do something fun at the end of the week type stuff where I just want to blab about like, hey, did you see the thing where Ben Shapiro ranted for 45 minutes about the Barbie movie? Like, that's what I want to talk about. But I needed to reach a certain like patron goal to be able to do that, just because, again, I hate editing a podcast, and I needed to have like a certain level of funding available to make it worthwhile to like hire somebody to edit a podcast, because that is actually, because it's a lot longer of a format, tends to be much more expensive compared to like editing a 5 minute like lightly accented, maybe let's say YouTube video where there's not like a lot of graphics and cuts and stuff happening. But yeah, I did see the Barbie movie, and I will say this: Barbie movie, Arrow Ace icon. Not the no Barbie as a character in the Barbie movie, Arrow Ace icon. But that's my opinion on that. Anyways, just ranted about YouTube. I just went into an alternate state and just started talking about YouTube and editing. I don't know how that happens. But I have more interviews I have recorded. I don't have them edited yet because see the previous thing that I've just spent the last 20 minutes talking about. I need to buckle down into it. I have people that have applied to be editors, but I have not gone back to them yet. And I need to just like sit down and like email people back and do that. But it's like, just, there was somebody sent me something the other day that was like, I need to build a fireproof house. So I like, instead of just like putting out fires all the time, I need to make a house that's fireproof. And the response is, okay, great, I'll make a fireproof house after I'm done putting out all the fires that are currently happening. Like, I ever since I moved last year and I got COVID, like, it's been a long, slow grind to like try and get back to like my normal state of like how ahead I want to be on stuff and like where I want to be in my workflow timeline. I just haven't like managed to get back there for whatever reason. Honestly, don't know. Anyways, that's my life update. Is Ben Shapiro okay? Buying Barbies just to burn seemed wild and unhinged. He's just like a sad, spiteful little man. Like, well, I shouldn't say, I'm not being insulting to his height. I mean, because I think he's short, right? I didn't even think about that when I said that. I mean in that, he's like, in Full Metal Alchemist, you know how Envy, like when Envy's, spoiler for FMA, like Envy's true form ends up being like basically a tiny little worm. Because of how pitiful envy is, like as a sin, I feel like Ben Shapiro's like that. Ben Shapiro is like the envy of all of the homunculi. Like, he's just pitiful. Just like, he's like a small person internally. Like, he just doesn't have a lot of, he's tiny and full of hatred. He's like a very hateful jelly bean. Does that even make, but like the bad flavor of jelly bean you don't really want to eat, He's like the kind of gross bottom of the container jelly bean that's kind of had all the other flavors rubbed off on it that kind of tastes like both like buttered popcorn and fruit punch and root beer at the same time. Anyways, that's like a very oddly specific. Can you tell I was hungry before starting this stream? I'm talking a lot about jelly beans for some reason. Barbie Arrow Ace icon agreed. Can I also maybe argue autistic icon? Listen, I haven't seen that point made, but I think it's an obvious point. I will say that. Yes, definitely we can say that Barbie is a neurodivergent Arrow Ace icon, and I think that would be perfectly accurate. I know, major energy on the chat. I'm glad. I didn't think that people could actually see the drum roll. I thought that got cut off from the stream because I didn't see that it had connected yet. I was mostly doing the drum roll for myself, being like, are we going to make it? I don't know. Is spicy a good thing? Yes, I think so. My girlfriend and I have started the FLR. It's going well. She's making all decisions. I'm doing all the chores. My paychecks now go into her account. She is strict with punishments. I mean, Chris, that sounds like a dream come true for you. Like, clap for Chris. Let's give Chris and his girlfriend some props. That is like, you guys fully went in there and you're doing it. That's awesome. Congratulations. And thank you for the update. We love hearing updates from people that have attended previous streams and asked questions, especially like relationship stuff. I love hearing updates about that. Just moved from a smaller town scene to a city, and holy heck, is navigating the community so different. It really, really is. Like, I, at one point, when I was getting started in Portland, I made a map out of all the different munches I could find and, like, where they were located in Portland, and there's so many. There's so many munches to go to. I feel like, and this is maybe just where I've lived, even if there's lots of venues, there tends to be like one venue that's good and like worth going to. The rest are like not usually my flavor of venue, and so it is actually more narrow than it might seem. But yeah, a big city, lots of people, and I think it's a lot harder to get into a community sometimes because of that, just because they're so used to like more churn of new people because they get so many new people on like a more regular basis. I think I'm gonna have to start growing out my nails because my new partner likes it for, it says stretching, but maybe you mean scratching purposes, or maybe you do mean stretching. I don't know. I got, the thing I got today, I got structured gel polish done, which is supposed to help you grow your nails out, which I have not had a problem with for quite a long time. Actually, my nails are pretty good, but currently this time of year, I do a lot of like yard work and DIY stuff, and so my nails get banged up a lot from like, you know, glasses and digging in the dirt and like trimming stuff. So I wanted something that was going to be like more protective over my nails. But these should last for a long time, and I like the clear base because then when it grows out, it won't be like, it won't look nasty. Which is like one of the things I don't like about nails is like when they grow out and they start to like lift on the end, and then you get like this really wide demarcation between like nail polish color and natural nail. Can't stand it. The worst. Looking forward to DDLG, and yes, I'll view the other you have. Curious, is FetLife or a dungeon best to find someone? I am a he. I love it. Thank you, Sean. Okay, so Sean the he. In terms of, I actually am working on a post right now for Instagram where I talk about this. It depends on ultimately what you want out of after you find somebody. I think if what you are looking for is a relationship, you want to date someone, you want to have rules and protocol and a structure, you want to actually do scenes and do like kink in real life for real, I think you got to be in person. I think you got to be going to dungeons. I wouldn't even say necessarily a dungeon is the best way to find someone. I would say in-person events are the best way to find someone. That could be a dungeon night, that could be a discussion group, that could be a munch, that could be a karaoke night, a cigar night, a book club meeting. I've seen like a kinky knitting group recently that looked interesting. What else have I seen that's like sort of, I feel like karaoke is the big one here. There's a lot of karaoke nights. Yeah, just like general social events, general things. That is the best way in person to meet someone. But to find those events, this is the kicker. To find those events, you have to have a FetLife account, because some of the really big venues will have their own online calendar, but most of them don't, and most of them are not up to date. So FetLife is the best way to find events to then meet people at. But I will say, if what you are looking for is online only, you want to do some kinky role play, you want to find education, you don't necessarily want to find a relationship, you don't necessarily want to find somebody in person to do stuff with, I think meeting people through FetLife is always hard. Treating it like a dating app will not generally lead you to good results, but you can go to groups that are for personals or for role play purposes and definitely meet people through that. I do know people that have had very successful long-term relationships because of FetLife, like I met like basically all of my first partners in the kink scene I met through FetLife, but that was because I was in a college town. I was in college and I was meeting other people that went to the same university that I did. And so it was a lot more of like a closed community. If you're in like Philadelphia and trying to meet people on FetLife, like in real life, probably going to have more difficulty verifying that the people you're talking to are legit and not like time wasters or bots or who knows, right? So that's sort of the downside of FetLife. But like I've met people that have met kinky people everywhere. Like I know people that have met partners on Discord, on Reddit, on FetLife, at community events, just like somewhere out in person, and then like finding out that, you know, they're kinky and you're kinky at a later point in the relationship. Like there are maybe ways to optimize your time, but there are lots of ways to do that. Okay. Oh, okay, right. Okay, one more thing I wanted to talk about before I get like fully into answering questions. Yes, kinky knitting sounds actually useful, not gonna lie. Yes, it was, I think it's a virtual group too. You're looking for a relationship. Yes, I would definitely use FetLife to find events, but I think finding a full-on relationship through there is typically pretty difficult. Okay, so there's one more thing I wanted to show you guys, just because it's like kind of the main thing that I've been working on for the last little bit now. You guys have probably known about it. I'm gonna keep this like quick, but just because I want to make sure everyone knows about it, because the time to get this thing is very limited. And last year, a lot of people were like, I didn't know about it. Can I get it now? I'm too late. And you don't want to miss out. And I'll talk about it just for a little bit. So the thing that I've been working on for the last little while is I am doing something called the Kink Bundle. There is a link to it tagged or pinned at the top of the chat if you want to check it out. And this is something we did last year, and basically what this is, also I'm showing this on stream because whenever I try to show this on YouTube, it automatically gets like age restricted, which is very annoying. But this is a collection of 30 different classes, and there are different workbooks, and there's different ebooks, and there's memberships. There's stuff in here from Midori and from, I think Stella Harris has stuff on here, Sunny Megatron. There's stuff about bondage. There's memberships to like an obedience app, all different stuff, all different levels of experience in kink, and also some more general sex stuff as well. There's like stuff for beginners, stuff for more advanced players. There's service submission, pain play stuff about choking, for example, and hair pulling, both of which are very, very popular materials that a lot of people want to know about. And then I made a class for this bundle. It is all about primal play, which I know a lot of you were very excited about. And primal play is like my baby. It is my favorite subject. I love primal play. It is so hard to talk about, and like I think I've finally, like I've noticed actually in the last like couple months, there's more and more classes about primal play out there. It's becoming a lot more common. I think basically a lot of people confuse it with rough sex, and it's way, way more than that. And this, I think, is a very unique approach to primal play. It's something I haven't seen from any of the other classes or discussion groups I've been a part of about primal play. So if you want my own unique take on primal play, it is only in this bundle. And there's also things about contracts and attachment, and again, you know, choking and all sorts of stuff. And all 33 of these things are bundled together, but this is only available until Tuesday. So if you want to find this, if you want to get these products and get my class about primal play, you have to get the bundle. You have to get it before Tuesday. Do not miss out. This is not like a shady infomercial at 2 a.m. type situation. These are legit classes from really good educators and great ebooks, great resources if you're really serious about learning more about kink, especially if you live somewhere where you don't have access to real life classes, real life events often or ever. This is a good way to get that educational stuff and just get more. It's for the value you get from this, it is like going to a kink convention. Like at a kink convention, you can maybe take like 8, maybe 10 at the most classes, usually more like 4 to 6. And this is 30. So for less than the price of like going to one convention, you get like 4 conventions at least worth of educational content. So that is that. I promise the advertisement is done, but I'm in here. Lots of great people, loving BDSM, Sunny Megatron, Majori, tons of good people, tons of good resources. I really am excited about the reconnecting with your sexuality after trauma. I think if that's something that you've experienced in your life, that's like a really powerful healing tool, just to be able to talk about that in like a kink-informed setting, because oftentimes sex and trauma and kink are not always treated with respect, and it's important, I think, to be able to have that resource. Also, lots of stuff in here about power exchange. Anyways, I'm gonna stop ranting. I tend to rant. That's that on that, if you want to check it out. And everyone I know that has gotten it has really, really enjoyed it and thought that it was a good resource. Last year's Kink bundle was really cool. Lots of resources from creators I later ended up following. Yep. Yes, also remember that finding relationships can be a long process, and you might need to take care of yourself along the way. It is easy to get discouraged at times. Yes, that is so true. I'm glad you said that. Yes. I mean, you will certainly meet people that have had the experience of going to one munch or one party, and then they have that like look across the room, and it's like they lock gazes, and it's like, and that moment I met my forever dom, and then, you know, you get swept away into kinky bliss forever, and like it's a romance novel. But most people, it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, even in like polyamory, like not even just like monogamy and kink stuff, but in polyamory too. Like a lot of people think, oh, you know, polyamory, everybody's slutty, everybody wants to do sexy sex stuff all the time. And yes, a lot of people I know in polyamory, their primary goal is to do the sexy sex things. But finding a relationship and people that want a long-term committed emotional relationship is still quite difficult. And I have known people in the kink and poly communities that on paper, you think they have no reason to have trouble finding a partner, right? They're new to the area, they're conventionally attractive, they're available time-wise, they don't have any like giant red flags, they have some experience, they're funny, they're all of the like kind of normally important things like for a dating app to meet people. And they meet people and like things just don't click, and they don't find the right person, and like maybe they find somebody else who's kinky and they find attractive, but they have totally different kinks, or just people fizzle out and the cancel plans and ghost people. Like it's dating right now, regardless of what you're trying to do, monogamy, polyamory, kinky, vanilla, whatever. It's difficult. It's difficult for everyone. It's different levels of difficult for different people, but it is possible to meet people with time and with dedication. And honestly, I think most of the time, the people I know that are in like long-term, like healthy BDSM relationships tend to meet people in real life where you don't have that barrier the way you do with online dating. Because I would say in my experience, online dating, like whether that be on apps or like FetLife and like meeting people through that, like in my early days, the problem is you run into a lot of people that don't actually really know what kink is. And that's a problem. Like you get people that are like, oh yeah, I'm so kinky, baby. But then you talk to them for like 5 seconds and you figure out that like what they think is kinky is like not what you think is kinky. And they're really into like, yeah, I love choking people without having a conversation about it first. And it's like, no, you can't just like stop. You like, I know that you think it's hot, but you can't just go like, let me put my hands on you. Like you can't just like, you can't just go and like grab somebody by the throat like mid making out and be like, this is gonna work out for me. Like, no, that's not actually that kinky. That's like fairly, it's like the most mundane common kink thing ever. What are the major cities that hold kink conventions? I want to go to a kink convention. The major cities. Los Angeles, I know, has an event. See, a lot of them aren't in like big major cities. They're like in populous states, but in smaller areas, right? Like Outside of Portland, there's Kink Fest. I know LA has DomCon. I knew New Orleans has DomCon. I think maybe Boulder, Colorado has some events. I want to say Austin or Houston in Texas does. I know somewhere in Florida does. I know New Jersey does. I want to say New Hampshire, Rhode Island, somewhere around there. And it was like there's some big event up there. I think Test Fest. I think that's in New Jersey. Toronto, Vancouver, Canada, Chicago definitely has a lot of big events at it, especially for like more like leather community stuff. Chicago's really, really popular for that. I'm trying to think of any other like big like major cities in particular, because again, a lot of them are sort of like they're near a major city, but not like in the major city itself. Like you'd be like, oh, there's a Kink convention there. Like it's sort of surprising, but you know, the Kink conventions are not like Comic-Con, right? There's not like 10,000 people going to these. They tend to be like a lot smaller. Honestly, I've never had anyone pull out the fuzzy handcuffs before. Like, I kind of want it to happen so I can have that experience, but like, just to be like, I haven't really done anything with these before. I've only ever used like actual heavy duty, like for real handcuffs. Oh yeah, St. Louis and Atlanta, thank you very much. I'm less familiar with the Southeast, so that's like about as far away from me as you can get geographically. But definitely ATL has stuff. Definitely St. Louis has stuff. I haven't heard great things about the scene in St. Louis because I know somebody who lives there and they really don't like the scene in St. Louis at all. But Atlanta is good. San Francisco, of course, you have fucking not DomCon, Folsom Street Fair, but it's not really a Kink convention though, is it? Is there like a convention? I think there's like Boundless. There's also different rope crafts, and that's like Chicago. That's Austin. I want to say there's one that happens on the East Coast now too. Maybe like Nova area. Maybe like fucking Alexandria or something. I don't know, like some random like DC suburb place I feel like has. But also DC definitely has Kink events at it for sure. FetCon was in Tampa. Do you have any thoughts on GODS, which is a guild of deviated standards, considering its past as Thunder in the Mountains? So I'm aware of that. So for people who don't know, there was a convention in Colorado that was called Thunder in the Mountains, and it got shut down for a variety of reasons. And the reasons why are, depending on who you ask, a little bit different. Wait, let me just check something real quick. Okay, we're good. Yeah, Thunder in the Mountains. I feel like I recently read something updated about that. My original understanding is it got shut down because there were people at the convention that were behaving inappropriately with staff members on site, and like generally in the community at large, people were misbehaving, and then the person who created the convention basically blamed it on like the convention getting too big, it attracting a lot of new people because of 50 Shades of Grey, which is like, it's over 10 years now. Come on. Like 50 Shades of Grey cannot eternally be blamed for like every problem in the community. Like at some point, it's just that like you don't have enough people or like the resources to be able to like handle both giving good experiences to very experienced people that like are not always catered to in the community, and people that are like brand new where they go to a Kink convention to have a good experience because it's like the one weekend a year they can get a babysitter and time off work to like go and experience doing kinky stuff. So that was my original understanding, and also like some problems with the hotel and hotel management and like just generally not like being allowed to come back. And yes, Dark Odyssey in San Diego and DC area. Yes, that was the one I was thinking of in the DC area, was the Dark Odyssey series of events. So lots of options for Kink conventions. There used to be a website called Black Pomegranate that had like a running list of a bunch of different Kink conventions in North America and around the world, but that website hasn't been live in like a couple of years now, unfortunately. So yeah. Anyways, what was I talking about? I was talking about like Thunder in the Mountains and like why it canceled. But I feel like I recently heard some new stuff about that more involved like it like the hotel management apparently like got bought out by like some conservative people, or like the new owners were like really conservative, and so there was never really a chance that the convention was going to be able to come back anyways, and then kind of putting more of the onus on like the operators of the event over the attendees, which of course, you know, the attendees are going to blame the operators and vice versa, so that like kind of makes sense to me. But the Guild of Deviated Standards, they made a new event that's essentially like a private invite only event for like experienced people, and that kind of puts a bad taste in my mouth on the one hand, but I also think if that's a reputation the convention has to begin with and who it attracts, like originally, maybe they needed to do that. I honestly don't know because I'm not familiar enough with Colorado to be able to say anything. But I wish I had more information about that because I feel like there's like a deeper story there. But like I'm far enough away from Colorado to where like I don't really get a lot of firsthand information about like what's going on in the scene over there. But as far as like specific, so I need to be clear about this before we go any farther down this rabbit hole. If you want to know about where is a dungeon in Philadelphia, what dungeons do you recommend in Chicago or Annapolis or like fucking Pearl City, I don't know. I can't help you with that. I'm not everywhere. I can't name particular dungeons. I talk about conventions broadly because most of them want to be publicly advertised and they have websites. You can find them on Google. Like, they're not really that hidden. Dungeons that are like open every week that are more private and personal, I generally keep those ones out offline. And also, like, even only in America, there's 50 states. Like, I haven't been everywhere. I don't know what dungeon is in Kansas City or not. And even if I did, I don't know if it's safe or who it's ran by, if it's still open, if it's changed ownership, if there's some kind of like hush-hush, like consent issues going on there. Like, I have no idea. So outside of like even my immediate vicinity, I can't really offer like a lot of advice. I can offer opinions, and even then I like don't really want to publicly talk about like particular venues in even where I live, just because it's like I kind of like being able to go places and not have everyone know that I'm a YouTuber. And it's hard when like the community is kind of my job. Like, I'm the most likely to be recognized in community spaces. And like, it's not like bad. I just like sometimes I want to go to a Munch and like just be a new person and not like, OMG, you're Evie from the YouTube channel, you know, which is like, you know, very first world problems. Like, oh, it's so hard being recognized in public and being, you know, whatever. Like, I don't want to make it seem like I'm complaining about like a positive thing to get sympathy, but like it is like, it is a thing. It is something that I struggle with from time to time, is like feeling like I can't just like be myself. Yes, in the educational package, there is a section on breath play and choking. And I think that's a, like, I've always kind of waffled about, like, online education, about, like, choking and breath control, but it is very popular. People are going to do it regardless of what education is available or not. So I think having some kind of education available is better than it not being there at all. And so on that front, I'm like, yes, but it's like in this kind of format, like I can't teach you how to like choke a girlfriend. I'm sorry. Like, that's just, it's too complicated. Mm-hmm. Listing off all the cities you've ever lived in. I was trying to be very random, so that's funny because I'm like, how do you go from Kansas City to DC? Like, how does that, like, that's quite the jump. But I've never lived in Kansas City or Philadelphia, so I don't know. Even like DC, I didn't live in DC either. I just kind of lived in the Southeast more broadly and on the East Coast broadly. Quick, what dungeons in Timbuktu? None probably. But I've looked at that before because I've traveled like internationally, and I do look for dungeons. Like, if I'm going to be somewhere, I'm like, ooh, is there like, what's the kink scene like in Paris? What's it like in the Netherlands? And it turns out that there's not necessarily a lot of like public dungeons in the way that America has. It tends to be a lot of like private play parties, bars, you know, club events, things like that, and then like fetish festivals, and that's kind of like the main scene. as opposed to kind of the dungeon environment that we've created in America, which is like, it's weird when you think about it, right? Because there's no particular reason why the scene in America had to become the way that it was. Like, we could have easily ended up with a model very similar to Europe and other parts of the world, where it's like mostly private clubs or public clubs that are primarily for drinking and partying and dancing, and then kink happens to happen at them in like a back room or as a performance or something. And it is a lot more like performative and sex focused, and drinking and like vanilla club life is very directly influential on that. But in America, for whatever reason, we decided in like the late 70s, early 80s, that the direction we really wanted to go in wasn't like club party time. It was like community organizing, activism, like mutual aid, education, like roundtable shit. Us fucking nerds, we decided that what we wanted out of our community was education and coming together and community, especially because a lot of us, regardless if we were coming from like the gay men scene or the lesbian scene or the straight scene or professional work, like we were all getting rejected on all sides. So like, you know, the gay leathermen weren't necessarily welcome at like the mainstream gay bars, and the leather lesbians, which is not really the term that they use for themselves, but I'll say it for the stream. You know, the leather lesbians, like, they didn't really fit in, especially during the sex wars, did not fit in with like mainstream lesbian culture all the time. And then like straight people, you know, probably the most well off, but also, you know, didn't really have outward public acceptance. And obviously professionals, especially in that day and age when you were operating off of like, you know, magazine ads and like a very particular newspaper or like business cards, you know, we all kind of came together to create a community in like this very interesting fashion that I don't think has really been replicated before or since, which is interesting. But at the end of the day, really, we're all just nerds. So, you know, is it really that hard to believe? Okay, that was quite the ramble. Yes, nerds unite, exactly. Okay, okay, good. I was like, oh no, I've missed the chat. Okay, I think I haven't missed any questions yet, but we're already an hour in. I should probably like maybe focus more on answering some questions. Yes, anyone else heard that Elon is getting rid of the blog feature on Twitter? Might be the final nail in the coffin. Yes, I think it is. Oh, thank you.
Rosie Rosette donated $55. I see you have still not reached your goal, and I just got paid, so have a little money to help reach it. My only question is, have you had a good week?
Thank you, Rosie. You're very, very kind. Thank you. You are under no obligation. No one is ever under any obligation to send me anything. You just like watching and sharing videos and being here is like, that's really thanks enough for the content that I make. But to answer your question, have I had a good week? I've had a busy week. I've had a very up and down week, I would say. I think right now I feel pretty good, but it's very high stress because I'm going to be out of town for a week starting next week, actually this coming Wednesday. So this is the last stream we're doing for... Is it the last stream we're doing? I guess this is the last Friday stream we're doing for August, because the 25th I'm going to be gone. I will say I might be able to do something on the 25th. I don't know what my cell phone service is going to be like, where I'm going to be at, and I kind of want to focus on just like being present with what I'm doing when I'm out of town and not like be in internet shit all the time. But I may be streaming next week, depending on what I can do for my setup, but probably not. I'm probably going to be out living my life and like, you know, being present with people and not being on the internet for once. But yeah, I've had a good week, just very busy, lots of plans, lots to do. Like I have a, like basically a calendar app that I use to keep track of my time, like what I spend doing certain things during the day. And I've literally had like 12-hour days every day this week. So it's a little intense right now, but like, I feel good about it. Like I'm doing stuff that's like creative and feels rewarding. It takes a lot of work, but it's also very worth it at the same time. Absolutely. Yes, and thank you very much for the kindness. We love it. And as I said before, my plan is I'm gonna get like a light tree thingy that looks cute and cool, and then I'm gonna get like a comfy chair maybe, and then just like have a little space back there to like chill in. That's a nice little decoration, but then also Am I going to Burning Man? Wait, is Burning Man next week? I don't know. I'm not a Burning Man person. I cannot think of anything that is like more opposite my personality activity wise than going to a Burning Man event. Like, I'm not interested. Like, I know there's kinky people that do Burning Man and I know them, but I just. Is that the wrong vibe? Wait, is that my dog? Wait. Un momento, por favor. Oh, you're a good girl. Both you and the cat came running. Both you and the cat. What? How did the cat come here? The cat ran and then you ran. What? What was the kitty cat doing? What was the kitty cat doing? What were you doing? What were you doing, sweetheart? Yeah, good girl. Oh. Uh-oh. I know, being up here like this, not always good. Not always good, but we're so waggy. Look at our big waggy tail. Look at the big waggy tail. Look at you. So sweet. Such a sweet girl. Ah, yes. Good girl. Lots of love. Lots of love. It's been very sad. She loves being outside, but it's been like 105 degrees, which is not compatible with tiny fluffy doggos. So we've not been able to go outside like we like. Well, we are getting our human time. Yes, close-up bandit cam, absolutely. Boop, 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 boop. Are you a little boop, 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 boop? A little boop, boop, boop. A little boop, boop, boop. No, boop, 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 boop. Sweet girl. Are you my little twin? Are we twinning? Are we twinning today? Boop. Okay. All right, you go find a cozy spot. Love you, sweetie. There you go. Alright. Alright, doggo time complete. It was not her at the door, but she came up when I called her. She was ready. She was like, she was so excited. Fair, surviving the desert for a week is definitely a masochistic experience. I like hot weather, but I feel like I'm more of a tropical hot weather person. Like, I'm much more of like a jungle humidity hot weather person, which I feel like is unusual. But like, I don't mind hot weather at all. Like, I'm designed for hot weather. But I feel like I'm not really into like... Okay, my impression of Burning Man, and I don't know how accurate this is, my impression of Burning Man is sort of like... hippie, free love, like drugs and group sex and like sort of neo hippie vibes. Like, that's the energy I get from it. And it's like, I don't know, if I'm gonna take time to not be online, I want to sit my ass down. I want to be reading a book somewhere. I don't want to be bothered. I don't want to party. I don't want to be on psychedelics. I just want to, like, I have very simple needs, okay? I don't really need all this hullabaloo. But there's local burns and stuff, I think, that are supposed to be maybe a little bit more, you know, inclusive and more enjoyable for people. But even then, it's not really, like, my favorite thing. Okay, I can definitely, like, feel the cat hair on my face or whatever. Cat everywhere. Doggo loves the cat, but Doggo and Cato, not necessarily friends. Cato indifferent to Doggo's existence. It was like an intermission. You're right. Accidental Doggo intermission. I love it. Depends on what you mean by find someone, but generally, yes, in person is best for meeting your local community. FetLife is mostly good for in conjunction with in-person events. Yes, I think that is definitely accurate. A gender fluid streamer friend of mine is very scared of the possibility of being axed by Instagram. They wear some relatively skimpy stuff, but nothing crazy. I mean, that's honestly why I don't share pictures on there anymore. Is like I am positive that if I shared certain things on Instagram, it would just be deleted. Like, or it would be like a strike on my account, which I really don't want to have happen. I think being a private account makes it a little bit better, but I feel like any picture at all just makes it harder. Like it's difficult to post anything really that's even like approaching vaguely risque on Instagram these days. So I'm not planning to go there. I'm just gonna stick with like more informational, like kind of shareable stuff, and then like, you know, see how that does more or less. Twice now I've done super chat stones and I can figure out how to add a comment to it. On YouTube or on Streamlabs? Because if you do it through send a super chat, if you do that, you should do send a super chat, and then it'll send a highlighted message. The stickers are different than that. The stickers won't include a message at all. But I'm not sure. I don't have an easy way to pull up like what it would do if you were doing the Streamlabs option. But there's definitely a way to have a message attached. There might be a possibility something in your message is getting flagged if you're able to type something but it doesn't come through, but that would be unusual. A friend at college was from Atlanta and he would routinely get in his car in the middle of summer, roll up the windows and crank the heat. That's wild. I don't know if I do that. Like I'm not that level of masochistic for heat, but that is a funny story. Oh wait, I'm at the bottom of the chat. Okay, wait. Okay. Sorry, I gotta go in order here, people. I gotta go in order. Okay. I have so many nice collars. LOL, do you have any tips on nice ways to store and organize them? If you have lighter collars, I really liked I had a jewelry stand that was like one of those tall ones for necklaces that had like separate hooks on them for necklaces, and then I could move it around like a lazy Susan and then look at what collar I wanted to wear. However, if you have like bulkier collars or like longer collars that maybe won't work as well for you, I know a lot of people like pegboards or cork boards. Those are popular or used to be popular with people. You can also get like a nice jewelry box for them too. But it depends on if you want to be able to see them or not. Like if you want them to be visible. Honestly, you can just get like a really, really nice gift box and just like keep them like stored in there and like wrapped up in paper. I think that kind of gives a special sense to using a collar. And I think I like that personally, where it feels more like you're unwrapping something and it's special and intentional. Like even like kind of covering up with like a silk scarf could be fun too, like especially if you would get like, you know, you could also use the scarf for like a bandana or as a gag or a blindfold wherever it's big enough. But that can be a fun way to safely store and separate out your collars and have it be like a little bit of like a fancy treat experience opening them up. But for a long time when I had a number of collars, I just had like a very plain plastic, like kind of one of those like I don't know if it was a makeup organizer or like what it was advertised as, but it was like this big. It had like 4 smaller drawers on it, and it was just like a desktop organizer basically, and that like worked really well for my collars. Unfortunately though, when I moved, they went missing, so I have no idea where they're at. Somebody, either a moving box got lost or they got donated by mistake at some point. I don't know what happened, but they just poof. So I don't know what happened to a lot of my collars. I literally own like 2 currently, and like, well, no, I have like 2 that are like more fashionable, and then 2 that are more like practical bondage collars. Yes, exactly. Only 4 easy payments of $19.99. Yep. And it's always that like same voice, and it's always like, but wait, don't act now. If you call within the next 20 minutes, we'll include a bonus, double whatever, for the same low price of $19.99. Want an even crazier deal? If you pay $36.99, we'll give you 4. That's right, 4. Blah 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 blah. Like it's like, I don't really. Why would I need 4 salad spinners? Like, it's a salad spinner, Margaret. Why do I need 4 of them? But yeah, that was that was an era of I imagine there's probably like Fox or like the old people channels probably still have that, but like no one calls to mail order stuff from the TV anymore. People just go on Amazon.com, baby. That's what they do. Oh, here we go. I almost missed this one. I remember you were talking about Poshmark years ago when I was wondering if you have any beginner online thrifting advice. So I was never like a full-time like Posh thrifter or anything. Like people do that as like their job. Like there are people, their full-time business is doing secondhand sales on Poshmark or like Mercari or Depop or wherever. I don't even know how you, like the volume of that you have to be doing. It's beyond me. I would say how I've always treated Poshmark is I'm on there and I have like periods where I'm on there like more actively or not. But basically what I would do is, I mean, I guess it depends on if you're looking to buy on there, looking to sell on there. I never really went into it with the approach of like, I'm going to make money like flipping stuff. It was just, I have clothes I want to sell. I don't want to give them away because I think that they're I didn't have someone to give them away to that was my size. And I didn't want to donate them because, you know, they were new with tag, they were from a good brand or whatever, and that was like a good way to like offload stuff and then like get some money. Like on Poshmark, I will usually use my money to get either like skincare stuff or makeup stuff from like a reputable seller. If you want to buy, definitely go with the approved sellers with like the star icon on Poshmark if you're looking to buy something. Be very skeptical of especially makeup and skincare stuff. There's a lot of fakes out there. So be cautious about that. But generally, if you don't go into it with the mentality of like, I'm going to make a lot of money, it's a good way to like sell some stuff. It can take a long time. Just like be dedicated to it. And then just like watch what other people are selling on there and how much they sell it for. And then especially on Poshmark, if it's been, I would say like 2 weeks and you haven't sold the item yet, you can like just repost the item. Like delete the old one, repost it, start from scratch, and like basically have it be a new listing. And that'll be a good way to like refresh things because a lot of people, like especially on Poshmark, if it's new, it'll sell pretty quickly. Occasionally things will sell after a long period of time, but for the most part, people are looking for like new items within the last like couple weeks. And so if it gets older than that, it doesn't get as noticed. Yes, like Daddy on Lee, absolutely. Absolutely. Daddy on Lee is a great example of like a more gender neutral of version of the word daddy. Absolutely. Okay, I all of a sudden started to feel very tired. Like out of nowhere. I was just like, oh, I feel tired. That's gonna be maybe my long days are catching up with me. I want to put my hair up right now actually because playing with my hair is kind of distracting. It's very hot outside. It's hard to like. I don't know. I don't know. That's my hair. We're just gonna. I look like a who. I look like a who in Whoville, but that's fine. Did your join button run away? I don't have a join button. Is for like the channel memberships, which I've never had on YouTube, so I don't think it's that probably. I come in to free the daddy. Oh, just talking about how effective gender neutral use of the term daddy is. Can you be a man at the same time and a little girl? Yes, absolutely. You can role play being whatever you want. Like, just because you use a certain term or role doesn't necessarily mean anything about your gender. Certainly, a lot of people will use terminology or role play frameworks like cross-dressing, being a little girl, being an adult baby, whatever it is, as a way to like safely explore other facets of their personality or desires or fetishes. And like, you can be whatever you want, use whatever terms you want, and it doesn't necessarily mean anything about your gender. Like, I certainly know people that are like into pet play, where like their pet play persona is like a different sex than what they are. And you know, if you want to role play doing certain things, if you want to go more in the darker direction, perhaps you have certain fantasies around that, playing with gender and that too can also be rewarding. And like, it's controversial, but I mean, like, being honest, a lot of people do play around with gender as a humiliation thing too, right? Where like sometimes it is like, oh, this is humiliating because a man being forced to act like a woman or like a girl is always going to be embarrassing, as though it's like a negative thing about femininity, because like the reverse isn't generally seen as true. Like, a woman acting like a man is like, I mean, it's like Mulan, right? It's a movie premise, not like a humiliation kink thing. But okay, I'm gonna move around for a second here, like see if I can get myself to like be working out after this is gonna be difficult, but I'll make it. I'll do it. I don't really want to have to like immediately go to bed after stream because I have so much stuff I need to do. I'm gonna be busy tomorrow. Ugh. But I don't want to be busy tomorrow. Ugh, whatever. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. I don't trust anyone that doesn't remember the Pure Moods commercial. Infomercials, good times. All right. Ba-ba-da-bum. I do wonder how many are active, but even 10% active is a million, so that's not too bad. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. What do you think of puppy play? I love puppy play. I don't do it as much these days as I did, like, 7 years ago. But pet play is still very near and dear to my heart. It is one of my favorite kinks, and I plan to do it for the foreseeable future, and like I want to include it in my kink life for the long term. And yeah, I don't know. It's just like, yeah, puppy play is great. That's what I've got to say on that. I think a lot of people have a very stereotypical image of puppy play as, oh, puppy play is, you always got to have the gear and the harness and the ears and the tail, but you really don't have to have all of that. You can do pet play without any kind of gear at all. I think the main thing with pet play is, like, with TikTok and stuff, and like, I guess really puppy play specifically, but with TikTok, I think there's been even a more extremified version of that. It's very interesting because I think there's this certain genre of creator that's kind of created this like TikTok anime-esque kind of more like cutesy pet play that isn't like, it's different than what it was like on Instagram back in the day. And I think I like it, but also it's like, it's a lot of work, and not everyone has like a face for that kind of makeup, But it's interesting. Puppy play is great. Interesting. Any advice for helping a partner feel more secure / assured in their dom role? He's very sweet / romantic, and it still feels kind of strange expressing his more assertive, firm side when needed. This is a very, very common problem, lovely bunny. You are not alone in that by any means. I would love it if anyone in the chat listening right now, like if you've had that in a relationship, or you've been that partner where you've had to grow into your dom role because you felt like maybe shy or apprehensive or ashamed, or just like you felt like, but I'm a loving, nice partner, and so therefore I can't hit people or whatever. I would love to know what your perspective on this is, because I think for me, my general advice for people that are having trouble getting out of like but I'm a nice, sweet, passive person, and so therefore I can't be dominant. I think on the one hand, you kind of have to meet them where they're at, Like, you can't necessarily just, like, force someone who's, like, not a firm dom to be, like, barking orders and, like, making a contract and doing punishments. Like, you gotta ease into it a little bit. So I would find stuff that feels rewarding to you, that's maybe more emotionally and mentally compatible for them to be able to play around with, that feels positive, right? That could be service submission, That could be like sensation play, like anything that's more like light, simple, not very like overly domly. Oh, thank you, Chunk. Take time for you, be gentle with you. That is a great message. Yes. I mean, be gentle with yourself, be gentle with everyone, honestly. That's a great message. Very, very true. Like, okay, sort of thinking step by step here. If I had a partner that was like new to kink, that I was very excited about playing with, and I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to do kink, it's so exciting. I'm excited, they're excited. I would probably approach it like, okay, initially, making a reassurance sandwich of like, okay, up front initially, we're never going to do anything you don't want to do. I only want to do what you feel comfortable doing. You can say no to anything you want to do. With that in mind, here's what I am potentially interested in trying. So reassure them. You're not going to pressure them. You're not going to leave them if they're not domly enough or whatever. Like, you have no expectations for that. You just want to be able to have a fun time with them as like a partner. So have some reassurance. Give them concrete things that you like and want to do. More information for nervous people, I think, to a point, tends to be better. Like, you don't want to leave people in the dark and not knowing things that could be very important to them. So give more information where you can. Have them then lead where you go next. Because again, you don't want to pressure people. And so I think we have to kind of go at the pace of the slowest person. And so in this case, it means like kind of the newer dom. Like, if you're constantly poking at them to be like, what about this? Can we try this? Can we do this? It can become overwhelming and like accidentally guilt trippy, because then someone can feel like, oh, well, like I really need to just like buck up and be able to do this because my partner really clearly really really wants it, and so even though I'm not comfortable yet, I'm going to acquiesce and I'm going to give in to that. Oh, thank you for the super chat, Jay. I really appreciate it. Thank you. I'm definitely dealing with that right now. It's hard, but lots of convos. Just because you're nice doesn't mean when you're dom, you're a bad person. That makes sense? Yes, exactly. Like, you can be a dom and very nice, right? Like, I think maybe encouraging them to explore more on their own. If they're kind of thinking in their head being a dom means I have to be mean. Like, I mean, there's a possibility that's what you want. Like, you could want a really firm, controlling, dominant person who's going to be very assertive and blunt and like my way or the highway. But not all doms are like that, right? A lot of doms are very gushy, and they do a lot of praise kink stuff, and they're constantly inundating you with like, you're good, you're desirable, you're attractive, whatever it is they want to say, and they're not really into the punishment, right? They're there to praise you, lift you up, make you feel better, and then they feel better by getting to do that. So maybe like introducing them to more of the like, and I don't love this term, but it's like popular with people now these days, is like soft dom stuff or like caregiver stuff that might be more up their alley. Assuming, they're not necessarily looking for like DDLG or like CGL stuff, but like generally more of a tender caregiver role that allows them to naturally express their more romantic, soft inclinations, but still staying in that dominant role in a way that feels authentic, right? Yeah, he's absolutely identifies as a soft romantic dom, which I love. Yes. So I think like just like embracing that, understanding that like if you're going about it in that framework, if you're doing it from a romantic, supportive, growth-focused place, that's what you're doing. You're not being mean. You're not being harsh. You are keeping in mind a growth focus by having certain expectations. And then like find a way to express that in a way that feels comfortable for them, right? Like that could be maybe non-physical punishments. That could be maybe they don't raise their voice. Maybe they, don't say orders. Maybe they, you can have like subtle speech patterns where like you both know what it's communicating, but it's more polite, right? Like maybe in like a more typical DS relationship, somebody might say like, sub go get me a glass of water, right? Maybe what your partner would say instead, that feels more comfortable for them and feels more authentic to them, because ultimately, really, this is about authenticity. Not doing something because doms do this, but doing it because that is what is true for you and what resonates with you. So that could mean, instead of saying like, slave, get me the thing, you can now, like, please, would you mind getting me a glass of water? And that is very polite. That's more passive, maybe even, but you can understand that if that, like, please, would you be able to, or please, can you do this thing for me? Like, you can have that embedded in the relationship, that the meaning behind that is not just merely a polite request, but is, in the flavor of your dynamic, actually in order. So find tools to work with what your partner feels comfortable with. Yeah. Yes. You are not a bad person for following what they consensually want. And I think ultimately, at the end of the day, like, you can build in a lot of stuff to make them feel comfortable. You can reassure them. You can tell them that they're a good person. It has to come from themselves, though, because if they don't believe it, that they're a good person, they don't believe that they are worthy of what you want to provide to them, if they think that what they're doing actually really makes them like a bad or manipulative or whatever type of person, there's only so much you can really do to help that. So really, it's up to people themselves to, over time, consciously work to let go of that guilt and that shame and those preconceptions, and doing that can take a long time. So you can be there to support people, but yeah, it can be hard, but it's possible for sure. And then just like, don't put too much pressure to like get there immediately. I think you got to stay low pressure, focused on honesty and authenticity. Go slowly, communicate a lot, talk about everything, and then just like, don't bite off more than you can chew, right? Don't leap into contracts. Don't leap into like heavy impact play scenes. Slowly comb through and find what resonates with you, but don't feel like you're under any obligation to stay there. Imposter syndrome, something like that. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. Genuinely, I'm feeling, I don't know, I feel like this way when I drive sometimes, when I'm just like in full, maybe it's the lights, maybe it's eye strain from staring at a computer so much, I don't know. I was like feeling very peppy, energetic at the beginning of the stream, and now suddenly I'm like, nap time. Not that it's y'all's fault or anything. I've been trying to help him be comfortable with telling me what he wants and expressing his desires. His main concern is pushing my boundaries. Okay. Well, that's his main concern, is like pushing boundaries. Okay, I guess first of all, tools for him expressing himself and like expressing his desires, like he can write a list, he can do a yes, no, maybe checklist, he can share or write out a fantasy he may have. Like, there's lots of tools to like more easily communicate what your desires are, that are not just having like a direct face-to-face conversation of like, these are all of my individual kinks numbered on a list from 1 to 20. Like, you can ease into that a little bit more than just like, here's a list, enjoy, this is what I'm willing to do. So maybe it's worth finding more indirect ways to help him like feel more comfortable expressing what his needs are, even just to himself, if not to you directly. And then, like, if his main concern is like pushing boundaries, I think that's kind of, on the one hand, up to you to really, really make sure you're saying no when you need to say no. You are using your safe words. Maybe practice using them on a regular basis. Have like a drill scene where like the intention is to get you to like, all right, after 3 spankings, you have to remember to say red, and then we're going to practice what happens when you say red. Like, you can have kind of practice safe word scenes in there, and just like, reinforce before you play, before you do stuff. You know what your safe word is, you know how to use it, here's your backup plan, you know how to say no. Maybe you don't even use a safe word, you just stick with like plain English, and like no is your safe word, right? Without it actually really technically being what most people consider to be a safe word. Like, just really, really make sure that you're on the spot about communicating where your needs are at. And I think over time, with more practice, they will be able to let go a little bit and understand and realize, okay, I can trust this person to tell me what I need to know. but at some point they got to trust you, right? Okay, I think I'm gonna maybe experiment turning off just this light and maybe see if that helps. Because I think having 3 lights in my eyes all the time is like a little difficult on my eyeballs.
Twixie Shores donated $5. How do I avoid feeling like I'm treating my dome like a kink dispenser?
Dome.
She insists I'm not,
Good job.
and I know our relationship consists of so much more than kink. But every time I am about play I feel guilty.
Okay. How do I avoid feeling like I'm treating my dom like a kink dispenser, or dome, according to the super chat reader? She insists I'm not, and I know our relationship consists of so much more than kink, but every time I am about to play, I feel guilty. I'm assuming it's to play. Maybe it means something else. I mean, okay. I feel like on the one hand, I have an idea in my head, but I'm trying to think of how to like express this in the way that I mean. Okay. So normally a lot of people will frame their needs like, I need this because I like this thing for me, right? I need to do a spanking because I like spankings. I need to, I don't know, I need to have a paddling scene or be tied up because I like feeling tied up. But you, as a submissive, one of your needs might be not just being like selfish, right? You might have a need in a relationship to do scenes or things for your partner. And so, really, if you're only ever doing scenes for you, you're not actually getting your needs met because your true underlying need is actually more centered around your partner. If that makes sense, like it's no longer just about you for your own sake, it's also about meeting in the middle with your partner. And so, maybe that might mean making a request that, you know, okay, we're doing scenes and they are for me, but maybe every scene for a while, every other scene, every third scene is something that your partner just wants, right? Maybe an act of service or something that they pick for you, or a scene that they like doing that you don't like as much. Like, have some way to maybe put in there that you feel like you don't have, like, you're getting your needs met and you're doing what you want to do, but it also consciously feels very intentional, where you know that you are getting equal or somewhat equal time for your partner to do whatever they want to do, even if it's literally doing what you want to do, right? Because this is the complicated part. It was like, how do I explain this? Because it could be, okay, I need every other scene to be something that you pick doing. And they might end up picking something that you also like and really want to do. And that doesn't mean that they're not doing what they want to do and not getting their needs met. Because you know, right? You know, they picked this. They're doing this for purely selfish reasons because I told them to. And even then, we are so compatible that we both want the same thing, even when we're being selfish. Like, does that make sense? I don't know. Like, I think just like building in more time to make sure your partner's needs are like front and center, and then just like staying consciously aware of that and not giving in to that desire to like feel guilty or bad because you know they are doing this only because they want to do it, because that's what you agreed to, that's what you said you wanted, and so you know it's not only ever just like, we're doing this because I want to do it, I'm doing this kink and they're doing it with me because I want to do it, and like having a greater sense of it being more directed by them. Because I think ultimately the goal of kink for a lot of people is not just like, I want to selfishly get all my needs met. It's like feeling connected to somebody, and it can be hard to feel connected if you feel like you're always putting in all the work. Like, and I'm not saying this is happening with you. I think sometimes if you're kind of always getting your way and you're always having to plan stuff and propose things, that can seem like an unfair amount of work, like maybe even subconsciously. That helps. Thank you. Well, I hope it does, but it's also fine if it doesn't, because I'm not you in your relationship. But I would love an update if it does help. But like if it doesn't work for you, you know, I'm open to that feedback. Thank you for the advice. He's a wonderful daddy / master, and I'm glad he's so thoughtful of my boundaries. We'll definitely try to implement the advice / tools. Yes, I hope that helps you. And yeah, just like find more ways to reassure your partner that like you know your safe words, you know your boundaries. Like maybe literally having a list of your boundaries, so that way you know and they know that they are very clear, very well known, that you are enforcing them, they are there, and that what that person is doing is not outside of your boundaries. Like too far beyond your boundaries, maybe. Hmm. All right. Okay, next question. Mm. Can you please give some information about DDLG? I am begging. I'm very new to BDSM. You have to be more specific. What do you want to know about DDLG? I would love to help you, but if it's just like, tell me about DDLG, I'm like, where do I start? Do you want to know about scenes, how to find a partner, ideas, what doing DDLG is really like role play ideas, how to get into the headspace for it? Like, narrow it down a little bit, and I would be more than happy to help you. I remember your podcast. I love how your content has evolved. I'm surprised anyone remembers that, but thank you. That is very funny to me that anyone still remembers that, but thank you. You ever make a podcast? I would definitely listen to it. You're the best. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I do also, for the DDLG question, I do have a pretty extensive playlist on my channel. I think it's either like DDLG and pet play, or like pet play and DDLG, something like that. And it's a playlist of all my videos about ABDL, DDLG, dominant littles of any kind, age play, if I didn't say that already, and like pet play, puppy play, whatever it is. All of my videos I've done about that, more or less, are in that playlist. That's a really, really good way to get a lot of information condensed and, like, you know, sorted for you already if you want to look for that. Should be pretty easy to find, FYI. In high school, I was able to do kink impact play with some girlfriends, but then I married someone who didn't like it. Just separated immediately and joined. Oh, just separated and immediately joined like Munch. Okay. I mean, that's like a lot of people go through that experience. They get married young, or they marry somebody and they either become not kinky later on, or it becomes less kinky over time, or they never liked kink at all in the first place and just like never came up, because like kink is something you outgrow when you become a real serious adult in serious relationships, because kink is not sustainable, blah, 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 whatever. And then people get divorced because they do want to explore that kinky side, and they you know, lots of divorcees in the kink community, I will say that. History of BDSM topics. I am not a historian, and that would be like novel research. Like, there's not enough like existing information about like the history of BDSM in detail with citations that we know is accurate for me to just like make a podcast about it that isn't just like plagiarism. Like I'd have to be like verbatim quoting like 2 people to be able to have like a history of BDSM podcast. I mean, I do love the History of Rome podcast, so I like that, but we don't have quite the level of information about kink and the history of it as we do with the entire history of Rome. So, you know, there's that. Normalize comparing right-wing pundits to the monkey life from FMA. Okay, well, if we're gonna do that, okay, then who are the other people, right? I feel like Alex Jones is probably gluttony. Who's lust? Lauren Southern? Is Lauren Southern lust, or is that Candace Owens? And then let's see who else. I have greed, obviously. Who's greed? Greed's like the hard one, I feel like. Because greed's also kind of like a good character. So who's like greed? We'll just say that's a freebie. And then pride, or wrath actually. Who's wrath? I don't know. I'm open to brainstorming about that. This is harder than I thought it would be. I love structured gel. Only like 2 nail places in my metro area have it, which is more popular. I know. It took me a long time to find somewhere that does it. I think more people do it here, like I found. Like 3 or 4 places. But a lot of places that do it are like one gal only, like private studio places where you literally have to be in a wait list with like 20 people on it to even get a shot of like getting an appointment. And it's like $120 like every month to get your nails done. And I'm like, I don't want anything fancy. I don't want any gems. I don't want like nail extensions. I don't want anything crazy. I just want this. I want this, or I want solid black, and then like maybe occasionally different colors. Like maybe for Halloween I'll do like purple and black or something. I'll do something real crazy. I mean, I could do this. I could do like a base of, I mean, I could do black tips like this on like any kind of color and nail polish I wanted, right? Like I could do, they had kind of like a semi-sheer, like washed out black. I feel like could be a good, maybe for more fall stuff. But I really like this. This is like, it looks like it's so natural and easy, and it just like, you know, I think if it chips or like gets worn at all, it's going to be way less obvious than like regular black nail polish, which is like half the struggle with black, honestly, is it's so apparent when it gets damaged. But like nobody cares about my nail polish story. Yeah. Any advice for going to a first munch? Read the rules ahead of time. Go early. Usually munches get busier the later they go on. And so if you want to have time to meet people before everyone gets all, you know, in their preset groups, going earlier makes it easier to break into a conversation, introduce yourself before things get really loud and hectic and busy. Don't feel obligated to stay the entire time. I really recommend having your own transportation there and back so you can go whenever you feel like in case you don't hit it off with anybody. And then if the rules aren't clear, if you don't really know what to wear, if you're worried about anything, always message the organizers of the event and then see how they respond to that. Like, if you're on the fence and you're like, this could be good or it could be bad, I'm getting a negative feeling in my gut. I don't really know what it is though. Message the organizers, see what they say. You know, is it what type of people go there? How do people dress? What's appropriate? What do people talk about? And then I recommend having something on you that will be a conversation starter, right? That could be something on your backpack. That could be pins. That could be stickers on a water bottle. That could be a t-shirt you're wearing. Like, wear something that is an easy way to start a conversation and maybe represent something that you really enjoy. That, you know, could be a fandom. It could be movies, quotes, like art styles you like, whatever it is. It could be pronoun stuff. It could be, orientation stuff. Like if you have like pride pins or like a pride t-shirt, whatever it is that gives kind of people a sense of you and the flavor of you, I recommend doing that. Surprisingly, there's a really interesting munch somewhere near me dedicated completely to cookies. Okay, love the sound of that. Though honestly, of the events around me, they don't seem all that interesting to me. I like the idea of a cookie munch. But yeah, I think a lot of munches, like I don't like drinking. I don't like going to bars. Like I'm not really that person. And so a lot of munches are not really my speed because I don't really enjoy that. The only way I do enjoy it is if I'm with a group of kinky people, but outside of that, I'm not really interested in kink stuff. I'm not really interested in drinking stuff rather. Like it's just not my thing. Kinky hiking? Oh my god, how would that happen? How do you do kinky hiking? Isn't regular hiking just kind of kinky because of it's like a masochism in its own way, if you think about it? In fact, you just need to be careful. A lot of scammers, but if you vet properly, you can find good people. Yeah, I think it's definitely you're gonna find a needle in a haystack if you're gonna find people in there. It's a lot of spammers, bots, fake people, scammers. You gotta sort through all of that. Really, like, look for the red flags. Don't ignore them. Be cautious and don't send anybody any money. Don't give out your personal information. Don't pay for something for them before you even met them. Like, be very cautious, be skeptical. And people that are not scammers and are not bots, like if you talk about it tactfully, they're going to understand if they've been on FetLife for long enough why you would be skeptical and why you wouldn't necessarily want to talk about certain things or share certain personal information, which is yet another good reason to be a little bit circumspect about what you share on FetLife in terms of like your face, your place of work, your family, whatever it is. I really don't recommend sharing much of anything about that directly on FetLife if you can avoid it, because the more information a scammer has, the more they can manipulate you, threaten you. Just like less information that's easily publicly visible on FetLife, I think is generally a good thing. You want to keep that under wraps, so to speak. I really do hate how FetLife doesn't let you call out people who are abusive or rapists. A big reason I cut my usage down. Yes, I feel like every time I log in there, like even if it's like the first time in a long time, I log in and like I'm sure I could log in right now and the first thing I'm going to see is some kind of controversy that I wasn't aware of previously where like somebody got outed about something and it's like, I didn't even know this was happening. And I never know who it is. And it's always very vague. And I'm like, who are we talking about? Do I know this person? Are they in my personal circle? I have no effing idea. Who is this? What's going on? And I never find out. Oh, wow. Okay. I did not know that was so close to being sold out already. Okay, interesting. Well, I'm glad I logged in just to see that, if nothing else. Interesting. Oh, yep. Yep, I scrolled five things down. Wow. Okay, that took basically nothing. Wow, I don't know what is happening locally in my community right now. I'm kind of glad that I don't, but whatever it is seems to be a problem. I don't want to be involved. FetLife is... It's a lot. It's like, it's difficult because like I know multiple people that are really, really big names in the scene that have been called out on FetLife that we know are dangerous people that like, you may not know it's about them initially from a post, but if you like ask somebody who knows or you DM the person, they'll tell you. And it's so annoying that you have to play this game of telephone till I figure out, okay, who's this like big, super popular person that like teaches all the classes that is, some 50-year-old guy with like 3 submissives. Like, who is he? How do I avoid him? Because as a new person or a young person in the scene, I'm their primary target. Like, it should be easier to be able to access that information. And It's like they don't want to be sued or something, but doesn't Bill C-16 kind of already protect like websites against that? Like Twitter doesn't have a Twitter doesn't have a policy where they're like, you can't name your rapist on twitter.com because we might get sued. Like for some reason FetLife has, compared to any other social media website, taken the tact that you can't directly name people who don't want to be named in a post. Like you can't at them, you can't. The most you can do is refer to them by a very nebulous, nondescript nickname, and that's not a lot. Yeah, never show your face in FetLife, not even in a DM unless you've been knowing somebody for a while. Yeah, I think it's like generally good advice to follow. Went to your first ever Munch yesterday. Congratulations. I hope it went well. Good on you for being brave. The Drama Llama is making plenty of local visits on FetLife, it seems. It really does. It really, really does. There's like, and I am friends with people like all over the place on Twitter, or well, not on Twitter, but also Twitter, FetLife in this case. And I see stuff from all over. I see drama from the UK and California and Florida and Canada and South Africa and like, I don't know, anyone who's involved. I see kind of like broad trends of certain kinks being popular with like thousands of people, and I go, oh, that's interesting, but like I don't really know. You know, I'm like, who is this person? I don't know. I hope I don't accidentally match with them on a dating app or like meet them at a Munch and not realize it, you know. I'm gonna call it Twitter. The website formerly known as Twitter, but still definitely is Twitter because there's no way that we're not gonna call it Twitter, let's be honest. Sorry if you answered this before, but is FetLife the best way to find local munches? I've never been to one, and my friend wants to find kink people to play with. Yes. Can you find munches and parties outside of FetLife? Yes, especially if you live in other parts of the world. But if you're in, like, North America, the UK, the number one place to find events is going to be on FetLife. And just searching by your local area, like let's say you live in Portland, you go to like, all right, I'm in Portland, Maine, and I'm gonna search on FetLife, my location, and then like just make it as broad as possible. Just search for events in your local area, and like if it's a munch or discussion group or something like that, it'll say it in the name, and it's super easy to find that way for sure. That would be what I would look for. There are other ways. There's a mall directory, which is the meetups for, what the fuck does it stand for? It's like meetups for adults. Munch plus adult local links. I was not even close. The Munch and Adult Local Links directory, which is www.findamunch.com. If you want to look for that, that is another good place outside of FetLife. If for some reason you really, really don't want to be on FetLife, I think it's maybe a little bit more international. Like I think there's stuff that's like Australia and like Canada and like, New Zealand is on there too, I think. Like they really have everything. I'm kind of curious though, if I go to my state. A lot of it is out of date. So that's like the one thing, depending on where you live on the mall directory. A lot of this stuff is from like 2015, 2016, 17, 18, like kind of pre-pandemic. And so a lot of it is going to be out of date. But again, it's just like another option if you want to look at that. There's like another way outside of FetLife. But like FetLife is the best way. Short of long answer short there. Talking about relationships. This bundle really caught my eye. Definitely feels like the information in it would be very useful for people who are currently single. Yes. Some of the stuff is more partner oriented, but I think almost all of it, like really with kink education in general, like outside of like, even learning to tie somebody else up, you can like approximate practicing on like a dummy. So even then, like you can still learn stuff that way fairly easily. But yes, if you want to check it out, if you're single, if you're looking to mingle, you can definitely get information on there that will help you prepare for future relationships and give you a little bit more of a settled ground on that. Lately, I find it hard to find a good owner for me being a fox. I'm usually honest about everything I'm looking for. I think honesty is always the best policy. I know it's kind of cliche, but I think if you were just looking for any relationship, you can find that fairly easily. Is that a safe relationship? Is it a good relationship? Is it fulfilling? Maybe not so much. But I think if you are being completely honest about what you want, what you're really doing is you're being selective and picky, and you're on the path to finding the best relationship that you can find. And I think that's what's more important versus getting into a relationship sooner. Because in kink, there are so many ways to explore where you don't need a partner, right? You can go to events, you can watch people, you can, especially if you're a pet player, you can go to moshes, you can go to meetups, you can do things with other pet players without needing to be in a relationship with somebody in order to do that. So lots of options. Important to consider with handcuffs. Even if you use fuzzy handcuffs, if the handcuffs are toys, replace them with real handcuffs and slide the fuzzy coverings over those. Fair point. Fair point there for sure. Are you hyped for the hurricane? Not going to be much far north, but you're bound to get a little bit of rain. I am excited about kind of the rainy weather and maybe a little bit of cooling down. I think like I'm sad about summer being over sooner rather than later, but I think we need rain around here. I'll take the rain. I grew up in the Southeast and I have been around hurricanes for a long time, so I'm like not unprepared for it. It's just like LA getting a direct hit by a Cat 4 hurricane is like kind of nuts. Like I don't think it'll be a Cat 4 and it makes landfall. I think it's probably going to be a tropical storm by that point. I think it's going to hit Tijuana first and slow down pretty rapidly after that. But like honestly, who knows? Like the idea of like I don't know. Like LA, I don't think is like equipped for that. And I wish everyone who's in the area, if you're in LA, Orange County, Southern California, Northern Mexico, anywhere that's going to get hit by this hurricane, I wish you luck. I'm not an expert at this because like the last major hurricane I experienced, I was a child, and so I wasn't really in charge of like making preparations for that. But be prepared, have copies of vital documents, keep stuff off the floor, have drinking water and non-perishable food for a couple days, have extras of your medications if you need any, have food for your pets prepared, have, just be prepared to be without power for a couple days at least. And black garbage bags are very helpful in case there's any kind of flooding or anything. So, it's complicated. Like preparing for a hurricane could be like a 2-hour long infomercial. Well, just informative, maybe discussion, but some rain I will be excited for. But I wish people luck because it can be scary if you've never been in one before, not sure what to expect. They can be pretty intense, and I don't even know are the buildings there equipped for that? I don't know. I wouldn't want to be there personally. Last week you talked briefly about the kink scene needing more helpers who aren't looking for dynamics. Can you elaborate more on this? I've never heard about that. I'm super interested. So I think what I was talking about with that, if I remember correctly, is a lot of people get into the kink scene kind of with their own utility in mind. Like they're getting into the kink scene because they want to find a partner for them. They go to a couple munches, they go to a party or two, they find a partner, and then they gallivant off into the wilderness and they never come back to the kink scene because they found their person. And then maybe if they break up or open the relationship or something, they come back and then find more people and then leave again. But they don't really have long-term investment in the scene. And I think what the scene really needs is people that are not going to use their positions of authority or acumen socially to meet partners. Because a lot of the bigger events that I've known of, whether that be munches all the way up to conventions, a lot of the people that start organizing them and running them, they're not for ego reasons necessarily, but it sure is convenient when it gives you access to all the new people in the area because you're the person who runs the munch, right? So that I am skeptical about, and I think it would be better if there were more selfless people that are getting into the scene and volunteering and helping, not because they're trying to do something to help themselves or to you know, get to people that are potential partners, but because they want to be in the community for the community to help people, not just to be self-serving. Specifically, how would these helpers label themselves on like FetLife or at events? I mean, I think really you just kind of say on FetLife, like maybe your first line, you put like I'm excited about helping the kink community. I'm interested in volunteering and getting involved. Like just like something real quick like that. And then I don't think like if it comes up in conversation like at a Munch, you can tell people that you're excited about volunteering and helping out. And I can pretty much guarantee to you if an event organizer sees that, they're going to be really excited because it's very hard to find people that have the time, energy, dedication to be in a consistent volunteering role. Most people are more interested in playing and finding partners than volunteering, and it's very hard to both go to a Munch as an attendee and also run a Munch. So I think that's probably the best way to do it. And like, you shouldn't really have problems finding opportunities to be able to, you know, help and do things. And then like from there, be able to grow that out a little bit. The last I saw, it's supposed to be a tropical storm once it finally makes landfall fully. But the real threat is supposed to be the flooding that is expected, but hopefully for the best. Yeah, I don't think LA is probably equipped for the flooding, unfortunately. So again, keep your stuff off of the ground if you can, any sort of important stuff. You know, I feel like there's some kind of like, I don't know, there has to be some kind of thing you can watch on YouTube that's like how to prepare for a hurricane and like hurricane flooding, because the flooding is like, the winds are bad and like power outages are bad, but like the flooding is like, that's where it gets like dangerous, is the flooding can be very sudden. And especially if you live in a house, you know, have a way to get to your roof. I don't know how bad the flooding's going to be. Have a way to get to your roof. Last thing you want to do is be stuck in your attic or on a second floor and the water's still rising. Not to like end this on like a morbid note, but you know, I think it's a lot of people run into trouble if they don't have a way to access the rooftop. And by access the rooftop, I mean like have axes and power tools. Like that's what I mean by that. Like have a way to forcibly exit on your rooftop should need occur. But also just like having an axe is fun. So okay. Well, we're at time here. Is there like one more quick question I can answer here? I think that's going to be it. So that's going to be it for tonight, guys. Thank you so much for being here with me. If you want to check out the bundle, please do. Again, next week for the stream, I'm not sure what we're going to be doing. If I'm streaming, it'll be from my phone. It won't be this whole setup. And I'll just keep you guys posted if I end up going live that day or not, because I genuinely don't know. But the Weather Channel website. Thank you. Yes, they're a pretty good resource. They've gone kind of like clickbaity, I feel like, but they're probably still a pretty good resource. Oh, thank you, DJ Basehawk. I really appreciate it.
DJ Basehawk 3726 donated $5.
Thank you.
Not a question, but just wanted to wish you a good break and hope that you really enjoy yourself.
Yes. Oh, other thing with flooding is if it's starting to flood, do not go out in your car. Flooding plus car equal bad, so don't do that. Do not being stuck in your car during a flash flood is like nightmare fuel for me. I would not advise that. Escaping via car is like generally not a good idea. Anyways, I'm gonna stop giving advice on my butt about how to survive a hurricane. But go to the Weather Channel, go to the resources, be prepared, print stuff out if you need to, be prepared for power outages, flooding, all of that good stuff. Have a first aid kit, have food on hand, have water on hand, all the usual things. You have the ability to do that. And yeah, that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much. I will talk to you later. Bye. I know I'm done. I said goodbye. I know. Every time I say goodbye, you get so excited. You stretch out. You want to say goodbye to the people? Come here. Come here. Come here. Come on. Come on, baby. Come here. Come on. You're getting close. There we go. There we go. Jump up. There we go. All right. We're going to say goodbye. You're going to say goodbye to the people. And then we're going to go on a walk. We're going to go on a walk. How do you feel about that, little girl? So exciting. All right. We're going to go on a little walkie walk. Have fun. All right. Good night, guys. Talk to you later. Bye. Bye.